Boom, boom, boom. How's it going? How's it going? Welcome aboard. It is I, TJ, from M5 Property Addicts, representing M5 Podcast. Yeah, like it is. We bring you successful friends of M5, successful friends. And these are guys that are doing amazing things, killing it in their own right. Like I always say it, if this is your first time, where have you been? And if this is your second, third time, hey, great having you around. Well, today I've got a good friend, someone else that I've been farming with down under, looking at some great properties and things like that. And his name is Buntu, Buntu. And the first time I met him, I said, "Is your name Buntu?" And he says, "Yes." And I said, "Buntu?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Like just Buntu?" And he says, "Yes." I'm like, "Okay, great, I get it." So, Buntu, how's it going? Welcome aboard.
Good morning, my good sir. I'm well, Taurai. How are you doing? I'm feeling fantastic. I'm happy to be here, and hello as well to everyone that's watching. I'm looking forward to sharing with you and chatting with you.
Good stuff. So, Buntu, Buntu, your last name is Majaja, and we got connected because both of us are property enthusiasts.
Yes.
But not, and I'm not just an enthusiastic. I do it.
Enthusiastic. You are in it. Yes.
Yeah, I'm all in it, brother. And we've been looking at some properties together. We've been sharing notes on how to do one or two things. So the journey has been real for the two of us as we've been grinding. But I thought, let me bring you up onto the podcast and share who you are. And congratulations. I know that you released your book a couple of months ago, and we're going to be talking about that book as well. Starting your startup in 90 days. And that's the book that Buntu wrote. So Buntu Majaja, he's an author. Me and him, we've got something in common, right? Two things in common, actually. We're both, actually three, right? So we're both married. We're both property enthusiasts, and we are both authors, and the list can go on, right?
Yes, and congratulations as well, my good sir. I did see that it came out, and I'm looking forward to getting myself a copy.
Thank you, man. Thank you. But today it's not about me. Today it's about you. You know, who's Buntu? Where is Buntu from?
Sure. Well, thanks. It's always an appreciated opportunity to ask oneself that, because in order to know where you're going, you also have to have your story of where you're from. And at least for me, in short, I see myself as a young South African, young African from the rural areas of Eastern Cape, or the rural, say, Midlands. You know, we have those hills there, green hills, sometimes snowing in the winter, with the cattle and sheep, and really grew up, you know, pre-school and pre-high school, in the Eastern Cape, spending my time between the school and the town, in the town and the townships, and then going back to my grandmother during the holidays, and also on weekends, where we then, you know, had a farm there, and really had a good time, say, connecting with people. I think that's where a love of people, a love of nature, and also an appreciation of, you know, the challenges within our country and the inequalities within our country came for me, you know, living in these two different worlds, and that is, say, what has driven me up until this point, where, you know, I went and studied engineering. I went and worked a little bit in engineering space, and then went into management consulting, did business degrees, and then started business. Mostly we started in the mining space or quarry space, small business, SME stuff, and then I went on to the digital space. And when I went to the digital space, my drive was and has always been and still is, and that's and the business that I'm in now, and the business and the work that I do now is about empowering entrepreneurs, working with entrepreneurs from an education perspective and an innovation perspective. And that is really in the belief that in order to change the trajectory of one's life, one has to take their destiny into their own hands. Yes, there's challenges of where you're from. Yes, there's challenges of the opportunities you had. And yes, you may not be where someone else is. You may be starting off here, but as long as you are improving your life, and if they're not improving their life at some point, you may you may pass them. But the point is that you'll be improving your life and creating opportunities for yourself. And with the entrepreneurs that I've been working with, and it's really inspiring to see that when ideas become real for someone, in the sense that someone is dreaming of something, but it's not always clear on how their dream is connected to where they are right now and what the steps need to be, and when they start you going through the motions of building that business and getting the support and realizing that they can do what they're dreaming of, it's also inspiring and motivating for me. And I think that's what moves the needle forward on our continent, in South Africa, when it comes to the inequality challenges and poverty and so forth. So in a nutshell, that's me. I see myself as an advocate for entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial mindset, and for entrepreneurs, and doing that now in say the digital space, where we build and manage projects or products that help entrepreneurship programs. So those will be online projects, online products, and then we design those programs, we run them out, and that's and then we do mentorship and all these sort of things.
Awesome stuff. Yeah, this is quite a lot of stuff, right, that you're doing. Buntu, my next question is that, isn't when you doing all of these things that you're doing, and I look at your history as an individual and your qualifications, and then I see in our landscape currently where we are, someone who's studied engineering, someone who you've got what they call rare skills in the workplace, right? And these are rare skills that they're bringing in guys from some African countries, from some Asian countries into the country, and they're getting paid good back, right? From an employment perspective. But there you are, you qualify from just a color skin perspective, because they're saying, hey, in the employment sector, we need to bring in more people of color. And there you are, you've got that qualification, you're running away from it, and you're saying, hey, I want to raise up people that are strong in their head in terms of what they're doing, who they are, they know who they're from, and help you to be better people as entrepreneurs. Why that route versus just going in and working for ESCOM and getting paid your 60,000 every month, and you sit home and you chill, because I mean, you got a job, like Robert Kiyosaki says. The people that really think that they're making it are those that go to school, get good grades, and they get a good job, and they work for the next 40, 50 years of their lives, and they then retire. They're hoping that someone else is looking after their pensions, but that's another story. but why have you chosen
Got to love
that? Why have you chosen that route?
I think it's a poignant question, one that is at core to my purpose and my everyday life. So I appreciate that sort of observation and that thinking, and I believe that you this might be something that resonates for you as well, as someone who's a full-blown entrepreneur, and can't get that bite off of you in everything that you've done, even though you've been in the workplace
Yeah.
But at least for me, it, well, for me, another thing that Robert does say is that he told the story of how when he went to go work with his rich dad said, if don't ever, you can work with me now, but don't ever take a job, because once you get employed, you stop thinking, and when you stop thinking, you stop creating and value and and growing. And he says from then onwards he never took a job, and I think there's truth to that, but except I add on the piece that says that the aspect of the thinking that he's speaking to does not only lie outside of the job space, and that aspect is the entrepreneurialism,
Right.
which is on how to be solving problems, which can be done in a job environment, but also outside of the job environment, and that is really something that comes in the conditioning. So if you do have the entrepreneurialism, go and do that at ESCOM, go and do that in at DTI, for example. However, of course, the environment will be very frustrating for you, naturally, because of who you are, especially if you're entrepreneurial. And I think for me, in part, that is part of the story, being from a young age, creating things, making things, selling things in high school and university. We were doing media business, we were doing events business. And so there was an aspect of being entrepreneurial and just questioning, why are we doing things a certain way, or why do things work as for myself and the teachers, etc. But that was, say, a mindset that I realized did not work for me in a factory, as a chemical engineer. And so I was then more so frustrated out of that space.
Right.
And then I had to take that, that step to say, I want to do something else. And then the question of what is it that I wanted to do came from this reality of coming from a very rural background, where there was no electricity, there was no roads there. There was no running water at that time. Those are things that time my mom moved to Gauteng, and myself as well. But when she grew up, she went to school barefooted all the way up until matric. She's one of the only people in that whole village that went to university.
Yeah.
And this is where I spent a large time of my childhood. And then I went on to study at the University of Pretoria, spending time in Gauteng, and it's a different world. It's a different reality, different backgrounds of the people in my class. The just just the world views are so worlds apart that
Right.
when you go down the road to Marabastad, for example, and you see people that I would have gone to school with in the Eastern Cape, moving to Gauteng to come find opportunities, are now sleeping on the road, with little to no opportunities of tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself that it's possible, being coming from that environment, it could have been me. And But at the same time, I'm here in this classroom, next to Tribeca and the Starbucks, and I've got financial support, but it could have been me. And why is it not me?
Yeah.
So the conclusion was that, because is that it's because maybe I have to then do something about it. Maybe someone has to do something, and that's not something I have to, that it has to be me, but that will be a choice for me. And if that is something that bothers me to an extent where I couldn't I couldn't sleep at times, or, that's something that brings a tear to my eye to see someone, for 3-4 years begging at the same corner next to the McDonald's while, while the world is moving on. And this is a young person. If that's something that really bothers me, what can I do about it? What could I do about it? And then that's when sort of the first thoughts of how business could solve social issues, or at least contribute to other people's lives, started coming about. And we played around with, an online application. We actually developed an online application while we were in university for helping young students to do career guided.
Okay.
So what it is they want to do, because said that what they're doing is what they wanted to do. And only about half of those said that what they're doing is they think they will continue in it. So you have a large number of people going just into the university, applying for whatever, because their grandparents say you can either be a lawyer, accountant, an engineer, or a doctor. And when they go there, that's all they want to become. But they get there, they realize, actually, this is not going to help me. This is not interesting. I don't even know what this really entails if they get in. And then they end up switching, spending more time there, only to come out on the other side with a second rate, a second choice degree or study, which is inefficient for the economy, for people to be spending money and time on things that they end up changing later. I'm a product of one of those things, right? Went into engineering and ended up in business.
Yeah.
But so that platform, being it for trying to solve the problem and really thinking business about it, raising finance, what are the operationals around it, what are the revenue streams. But it was the first spark within an entrepreneurial journey to say, actually, you can try to solve problems that you see through business. And now I'm on that journey of learning business and trying to perfect business for me in my journey, such that I can be more efficient, a better leader, a better financial manager, and a better problem solver.
Buntu, you speak of the journeys that we both journeying on, kind of like, don't wait to be an expert for you to start partaking your knowledge to the next person, because you're not an expert at all on where you are right now in your journey, but that hasn't stopped you from mentoring and teaching other people as they're coming up, and that hasn't stopped you as well to actually just start and write a book. Now, your book alone, the title of it kills me here. Starting your startup in 90 days. I can see why you wrote the book, right? And just illustrate to us, right, from your standpoint, just in case someone missed it. So far, you got a burning desire to uplift the community, the society, that you can do it. And here you're saying in 90 days, hey, you can do it. But I don't want to take away from your book. And I want to be able to say, Buntu, what gave you the courage to start writing? You speak of your background. There's no authors in your bloodline. Actually, you're coming from the rural areas where books were not the ordinary stuff that you see. And by the time you come to urban areas, now you're starting to see more and more books. I mean, things might have changed right now in some of our rural areas, but not all of them have. And now you books are kind of like everywhere. These days we do books online and things like that, tablets, cell phones. But there you are. Correct me if I'm wrong. You're probably the first author in your family or in your clan, maybe. But what gives you the nudge to do it?
Yeah, it's like you said, it's a it is a life-changing process for me. And the most difficult thing was that question: what gives me the authority, expertise, and nudge to do it?
Yeah.
And for some time, I mean, writing a book had always been something that perspective, but and it was about maybe 2 years after, thinking about it, that I had just came out. I mean, we started a business, I think that was maybe early 2017. We were doing an online business for having entrepreneurs access, say, a database of opportunities. After about a year, uh, I left my workplace or my employment in order to go there full time. My partners at the time, both of them in IT, were still working, but we ended up not being able to make it sustainable or keep sustainable. My idea was that I was going to go out. Now we've got a little bit of traction. We've got the product out. I'm going to go to Microsoft. I'm going to go to the center. A failure after 3 months or so, and I found myself on a program in Japan, whereby there was a number of young leaders and entrepreneurs and so forth from around the world going to this program for a couple months, and by the time I came back, the connections there had led up to the support space for entrepreneurs, African entrepreneurs, to be an online connector for African entrepreneurs to East Asian investors and financiers, with some partners from that side. So then we put that business together, and then we worked on it for some time and raised some finance, and then over some time, the general co-founders or partners dispute, fallout happened, and this was just before we were just about to raise another round locally of finance, and I'd also now been working on a project that was really much involved with entrepreneurs raising finance, and we were helping entrepreneurs raise finance as well,
Right.
startups across the continent. It was hard, man. It was hard, and I think I was very upset, and it triggered this writing thing. I was reflecting initially for myself to think, what happened, what did I do wrong, who did what wrong, where did I make mistakes, what can I learn from this? And then as I was writing these things down, I started thinking maybe I could actually put these into a series of articles, that maybe they may be valuable to someone, even just one person, because I felt so, it was such a difficult time, financially, emotionally, and physically, just being drained, with dealing with so many things. I'm trying to set up a new business here, while this time we're dealing with my partners and some legal things there. So I thought, even if I could just help one person, because if it was me and I could be that one person, I'd be so grateful. And that's when I decided, no, if I could even just, maybe this writing continues now into as a series of articles, and then it expanded into many articles, and I thought, then it just can become a book. And even if this book is helpful to one person, that for me will be sufficient, because just my process of writing this book has been helpful. And then I continued writing, and then we put it out, and and we sold a couple of hundred of the copies now, and it was relatively much more appreciated and better reception than I thought that we could ever get on something like this. But realize that actually people are hungry to change their lives. People are hungry to understand what are the foundational things you need to put together when starting your business in South Africa or on the continent. What are those things that can save you so much more grief and money 2-3 years down the line if you talk about it now, if you put it in place now, if you think about it now? How can it accelerate you to saying, okay, I'm in my job right now, but I know there's this business I want to do, but I don't know when should I leave my job? What will it take for me to realize that actually this business is what I do want to do? Do I really want to do it? Because I don't want to just leave, my employment in the business. I've been continuing this, not seeing any change. I'm not seeing any growth from it. What are the things that I'm not doing right? What is it a mindset thing? What if I want to raise finance? What are those things? So I actually have the the piece here, which is available at buntumajaja.com. They can reach out to me at Buntu Majaja, but that's really what we're talking about here. And that's what drove me to do it. At first I was crying and bleeding onto the papers, but eventually I thought it's a journey for me as well. This is my reflection, and this is the first book. I'm going to be working on another one because I'm learning, I'm growing every day. And different things to learn.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I could take on different questions there from your last response. You speak of partners, things having gone bad. You speak of your failures. And I am glad that, you're not hiding your failures. You're open about it, because at many a times we are out there, we're celebrating the good things. We're celebrating all the 12 valves, vehicles, and the beautiful wives, and. But we're not looking at the core of how did you get there. And this is something that I am highly appreciative of you, to say that, you're out there in the open about it. There is challenges in partnerships. It's not for everybody. There is challenges in entrepreneurship. It's not for everybody, right? But I want to turn back to when you went to Japan. This is a different continent altogether. The cultures are extremely different from us, from when you see it from an outside. I was privileged that growing up, I got to interact with a lot of Japanese when I was doing baseball. So back in the days, I used to do baseball.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. From an outside, we look like we are so vast apart. But actually, when you start interacting, you see, Flip, we just, our journeys are so intertwined. We just perceive it as different. I know your wife is Asian. Is she from Japan? Did you go for education and you came back with a wife?
Yes. Yes, she's Japanese, from Japan. I think that was a blessing beyond blessings of anything that the world has done. We often, or I believe that, I believe in reincarnation, and I believe that in whatever form that you are living your life now is not the first time living it as you are now, but in many other ways. Sure. And that, our spirit's journey journey in between time and spaces. And I never thought, I never had Japan on my go-to list. I mean, I've always been ambitious of traveling and been to South America and some parts of Africa before I went to Japan, and it was never on my places to go. But somehow I was there, and right there was a reminder of the connection I had in previous lives. That's how I interpreted it, as how I felt about it, and we share that same feeling. So yes, it was initially, I was going there to pursue my ambitions, but the universe was actually taking me there to connect me with my soulmate. And those are big words there, right?
Buntu, I'm in the same boat with you. Married to someone outside my people say within outside your circle. When you marry someone who's of a different race to you. And being in business also, I've been snapped at before. So someone has said to me, when people of color reach a certain level, now they don't look at sisters of colors, and that's why you marry. And it really hurt me for a while, because in my eyes, I personally don't see color. I think I was just raised that way. In my business partners, we've got female business partners. I've got all sorts of colors in my journey of my business. And diversity for me makes us strong. That's me, right? And
so true.
And if I look at where we are in my household, again, I see diversity makes us strong. Sometimes, some days it's more difficult than others. But I think we bring it upon ourselves, or not understanding where the others are sitting. It's like seeing the old traditional 6 to 9, that way, because in whichever way you're standing, the 6 could be a 9 and 9 could be a 6. So you're interpreting it correctly. But having said that, I want to zoom in for like a short brief of your journey being married to Japanese. Not a lot of people are married to Japanese, not that it matters. But I want to understand how your society have received it, and how you have managed it, and how it has affected you. Yeah.
I think I totally resonate with you that, just the way that I was raised as well, which speaks to the answer is not to see, color, even age, even, gender, as any specific definition of one's, I say, to be treated differently in any form or way. So that is what I'm grateful for from a family perspective, is that being completely embraced. I think also on both sides, her family as well completely raised her in a similar way, to appreciate all forms of people, shapes, sizes, and backgrounds. And we just look at each other as people that really make sense to each other, as human beings that just make sense to each other. And from a family perspective, that creates confidence and support. Not that it would have stopped us. I don't think it would have stopped me in any way. if it was the other way, if it was in any other way.
Yeah.
But from a society perspective, now we're living here in Johannesburg, and as you know, Johannesburg, South Africa is a relatively racialized society in the world, compared to other places in the world. and when interacting in different societies, friend groups, even just going to, you know, the mall, or even just going to a bar, you know, the security, or the cashier, or just someone on the street will treat us differently when it's just me, or when it's both of us, or when it's her. which is, you know, that is just a a manner of the society we live in,
Yeah,
and you know, just the flavor to our life. um,
yeah, yeah. And I like
but
I
but
like that you say it's just a flavor to our life. That's how I look at it as well now. Like, you know, we've been at it for 10 years now, and you know, when
yes,
it comes, I'm like,
congratulations.
yeah, we look at it and we laugh at it when we get home, and that's it. Yeah,
Yeah, but I mean, I believe in a future where, you know, there's just going to be so much diversity in every single corner of the planet,
sure.
and as we get more connected as people, as countries, as we lower our borders, as information flows more easily, people are able
Yeah,
to move. We'll be able to embrace, you know, these types of similarities and diversities.
right. Buntu, with from well, I'm gonna talk from my standpoint. For me, without partners, I can't function. Right. Um, and I want to qualify that statement. I've been in business on my own. I've been in business with my wife, and I've been in business with my wife active and being silent. Both of those, when I was alone, those businesses failed dismally. Um, and now I work with partners, and I've just realized that I am strong in my own niche, or should I say, the lane that I am strong in, I'm very strong in, and I'm not strong in all the other areas. And for me, when I bring on partners, it is to make sure that they are stronger in the areas where I am weak. So between the two of us, we're strong. So that means that 1 + 1 is equals to 3. Someone says to me, 1 + 1 is equals to 11, because you can do more things. But as a standalone, you can only do much. I want to come back to your book, right? Starting your startup in 90 days. And looking at some of your lessons learned in terms of partnerships. What's your views?
Um, yeah, there is a piece in there that speaks about, you know, going into partnership and the things that you should consider when
Right,
going into partnership, because it does start with it starts with you. So who are you? What are your strengths, and what do you want to do?
right,
Because there are businesses, and depending on your strengths, where you could go on that just by yourself, and not have partners per se, but have you know, a senior employees or advisors, and all these kinds of things. But personally, my views aligned to yours, which is going into partnership, 1 + 1 = 11. But when you go into partnership, there's a couple things you need to consider. I often say that, you know, partnerships should be defined by two things. The first being the overlap of strengths, which you highlighted on, strengths and weaknesses, and then the second one is direction, and an
right,
alignment on direction. And the first one for me takes priority, because the strengths, and responsibilities and roles, those things can be ironed out over time. But if there is a misalignment on direction, and communication is not transparent, that you know, that can be costly, no matter how good the team is, no matter how brilliant the team is. And so when it comes to then going into partnership, especially in the early days, the thing that I do now, and I suggest, is for people to date, meaning that uh, before getting married to your partner and actually going into hard, strong business,
Yeah.
do small business together, do projects together, do something together, where you're able to understand the person not just by what they're saying, but what they do as well,
Yeah.
what they commit to, how they handle pressure, and how they handle difficult situations, and I mean conversations. So
Yeah.
and that comes when you're actually putting smaller amounts of money down to achieve a specific goal, and then alignment arises from that as well, which will strengthen the partnership in the long term, and then you can go all in. That's my brief overview on partnerships, is getting alignment on vision and purpose, but
Yeah.
that doesn't happen just like that. And then having those hard conversations in that getting alignment, have conversations earlier, salaries, payment, ownership, all those things, and put them down onto paper, not because I don't trust you, but because I value you. I value what you're bringing. I value your professionalism. I value who you are. And then strengths is then you audit yourself, you audit the other person, and you make sure that there's synergy on your networks, on what you're bringing to the table. So you don't want to have a team of 4 engineers, for example, but you want a team of a marketer and an engineer and a finance guy. And if you guys are 4 engineers, then you really have to ask yourselves very good questions as to what's the good reason that 4 engineers should be going into this business, which maybe,
Yeah.
but strengths, you guys have to really ask yourselves that question. Possible, it can be coefficient.
Yeah.
And
So
I
so
think I've lost
so in one of
my
my
connection
one of my
there a
business
little bit.
partners, are you still there? I think you're there. Okay.
Are
So
you
one
still
of
there? And
my
I am looking for seeing, like you're saying, that really going into partnership can just expand what's possible,
yeah.
to beyond what you could initially, any of you guys, imagine.
Yeah. Okay. So one of my business partner, she wears the legal hat on our team, and she's the one day we were talking about contracts, and she said something profound that I haven't heard anyone say, and I took it and I said, "This is I'm going to use it." So today's my first time using it. She said, "It's not about trusting or not trusting each other. It is about whether it's just writing it down and we're agreeing. Giving it a lawyer, things like that is to making it to feel right and look right. Like just agreeing that it's on black and white, that's crucial, and you're both agreeing." And she says, you want to draw it down into a contract because what you're doing is you're protecting yourselves from each other and from yourselves. And I thought that was so deep. So why would I want to protect myself? And I figured I've journeyed with people who didn't know who they were until money was on the table. And when money came in, they were different people. And the reality is that had there been a contract up front before to say you're only going to get 2 rand, and now when there's money, they're now thinking that they deserve 4 rand, surely they would have protected themselves from themselves. or they would have controlled, protected themselves from everyone else now, because now there's money. They think they're big and they think that they deserve more. So they snub everyone else, and now they're losing the opportunity to grow because they're just seeing themselves as deserving of the 4 rand versus the 400 rand that they could be getting in future if they stick it out. Buntu, it's been great having you around.
Thank you.
I think that, our conversations can go on. There is so many directions
Appreciate it.
where we can take the conversations. The partnership for me is one of those conversations that I can just speak about until tomorrow. The failures for me is one of those things that I can speak of until tomorrow. Having a wife or having a partner who supports you and who's got your back, it's some of those things that I can speak about until tomorrow. So there are so many facets that builds the entrepreneur that people don't generally speak about. And I've just touched on 3 things that are core to me. Without my wife, I can't operate the way I do right now. When we're doing this, she's supporting the kids, making sure that everything else is happening. But our roles can reverse, because my wife is an entrepreneur as well. Our roles reverse at some point. But we're not competing with each other. We are complementing each other all the time. And these days we're doing it more conscious than before, because there's just a whole lot of work that needs to be put onto the table. And it is things that I remember back in the days when they would, not back in the days, but I think some employers actually still use this as a benchmark. When they're employing someone of a senior caliber, right? They look at his social life and they look at is he married? How long has he been married for?
His finger.
Yes.
They look at his hand.
So if you cannot hold your family down, how else can you hold a business down? That's the thinking there, because business is not business. Business actually starts from home. That's the basics of it. So your book is available on your website?
Yes, sir. Yes, on my website, also on social media. I mean, we right now we are taking orders for the next batch, which we'll probably only have available after lockdown opens up. So people can reach out to me at Buntu Majaja on all platforms. I'm so excited. I'm always open to chatting, hearing about how things are going, to share more about the book. You can just put me a DM. I think that would be the most preferable way. And we can share your stories as well and learn as well from other people's experiences or your thought insights as well. And hopefully we will get a chance to talk until tomorrow sometime. Where we just go and light a fire the bottles are like that. When all of this mayhem we are enduring is
good stuff. Good stuff. Buntu, that was Buntu Majaja, ladies and gentlemen. He's been hanging out with us on M5 Successful Friends. I did tell you that he is a successful person in his own caliber. You heard it right. And he's got an offering. He's got a book that I think that will blow your mind in terms of just moving your mind into a different perspective. And if being an entrepreneurship is one of those things that are burning in you. So how do you start? His book is just about teaching you how to start. Maybe you've actually started, but you're actually wanting to sharpen up your swords. There is no time to say that you cannot sharpen your swords. Reach out onto his website, buntumajaja.com. In the notes of the show, we are also going to put it in there so you can reach out to him, connect with him. I think he's a good brother to hang around with. So it's been great. Buntu, well done, and thanks a lot, and God bless. Cheers. Goodbye.
Thank you, and thank you. God bless to you too. All the best.